亲爱的听众朋友们，晚上好，欢迎收听西雅图中文电台美国故事栏目，我是小元。今天我们非常有幸的请到华盛顿州第41选区的州议员戴美玲My-Linh Thai，我们非常荣幸的请到My-Linh Thai，Welcome to our show。
Hello, it's my pleasure to be here with your audience.
谢谢，很高兴，是我的荣幸能够在这里跟听众见面。
戴美玲女士呢，她是越南裔的议员，然后她小时候作为一位难民来到了美国，然后经过她自己的奋斗，就是当选为2020年的时候当选为华盛顿州第41选区的州众议员，她给我们社区也做了很多的贡献。
小袁 introduced your past and what you've been doing, and I don't think you need to hear it in English because you know it better than me.
嗯，我们知道最近呢，就是戴美玲女士她在推动一项立法，就是将农历新年，作为华盛顿州的州立的假日，然后呢，这也是她作为一位亚裔的议员推动这项立法，我们很想知道您推动这个立法的一个初衷是什么？
We know that you've been pushing on the Lunar New Year to become a state holiday in this state of Washington. Could you please let us know why? What made you think that it's a worthy thing to do?
Well, thank you very much for the question. Not only would it be Washington state holiday, I would like to see it as Washington state legal holiday. And there's several reasons. Um, I don't know if it was shared. I came to this country when I was 15 years old. And the one thing I miss the most has been the celebration of the New Year. We call it Lunar New Year to be more inclusive, as including other countries celebrating the same occasion as us. As a Vietnamese, we call it Tết. And I miss that because as a kid, that's when we have the best food in the house, and many wonderful memories.
OK，我不但是希望能够让春节成为华盛顿州的假日，而且希望它成为一个法定假日。那么，我想刚才台长也已经介绍过，我是从越南来的。那么，我是15岁的时候从越南到了美国。那么在那个时候呢，我发现我最最怀念的是在越南的时候过春节，因为那个是我非常非常美好的回忆。小时候孩子们总是喜欢好吃的食物跟美好的各种活动，所以我来到美国以后就非常的怀念那个时候的情境，所以希望它能够成为一个在华盛顿州也被庆祝的节日。
And when I was in college, that was when I learned that if we don't be active in preserving our culture, would the culture itself be lost? But I myself would lose me as well. So I actively participate in the Asian Student Association, the Vietnamese Student Association, to create opportunity to preserve many of Asian culture while being in college.
当我上大学的时候，我发现如果我不积极的争取去保存我们自己的文化呢，我就会不但失去文化，而且失去 自我在这个美国的社会中。所以在我念大学的时候呢，我就积极的参与了亚裔学生的各种协会，帮助大家去想办法设法来保存我们亚裔的文化。
And then being a parent, I felt a duty and a need to preserve our cultures for my kids, because as you know, we don't exist in a vacuum. We have the connection with our ancestor, and Lunar New Year is the time to honor our ancestor and build that connection between our ancestor and the next generations. So that duty, trying to fulfill that duty in this land, in my second home, I have found it to be very difficult. And in conversations with many of friends and family of my generation, we share that same difficulties of preserving our culture.
后来我成为了一个母亲，那么我觉得我对自己的孩子有这个需要，也有这个责任，让他们认识我们自己的文化，我们自己的传统。那么在庆祝春节的时候，庆祝农历年的时候呢，我们都会祭祖，对祖先致敬。那么在做这种活动的时候呢，就让我们跟祖先之间的联系能够持续下去，也让我们的下一代甚至以后的后代呢，都能够在我们美国这一个土地上跟我们当年越南的祖先还能够有一个联系。所以我觉得这是非常重要的。但是在我同辈的朋友当中呢，大家都认为这个是一个很难达成的一个想法。那么我们希望能够借我们自己的力量，在未来把这件事情给完成，因为我们这一辈的亚裔的人似乎都面对了同样的困境。
And in conversation with many others parents when I serve as school board director, especially Asian American parents, we all wish that there is a way for the schools and the classrooms to elevate the most significant and the most important cultural holidays in our cultures, which is Lunar New Year. I know that my children teachers trying to hold a teaching class how to make dumplings during Lunar New Year. And we all wish that we would have really a day to celebrate this important culture.
那么在我在学校这个家长会学校的这个参加各种的活动的时候呢，我也发现学校里面有很多的亚裔的家长也很希望能够提高全校学生师长对亚裔的传统节日文化的重视。那么在春节的时候，其实也有一些老师很体贴的庆祝农历年，还教学生包饺子什么的。但是呢，如果能够有一个真正的节日或假日来庆祝这个农历年春节的话，会让我们更能够在整个的这个学校，华盛顿州的学校，甚至是全州的人都能够注意到亚裔的社区有这么一个节日，这么一个假日。
And the very first year I was in Olympia, that was the first time we have a resolution, both the House and the Senate chamber, to honor and celebrate Lunar New Year. So this year marked the 5th year that every year we legislatively through resolution honoring Lunar New Year.
当我第一年到达奥林匹亚的时候，进入这个州的议会，不管是众议会跟这个参议会、参议院、众议院，都对中国的这个农历年呢有一个致敬的意思。那么现在已经是第5年了，我们在立法机构，我们希望能够有更实际的方式来对农历年、对春节有一个致敬的方式。
And I am aware at the federal level, Congresswoman Grace Meng had introduced legislation making Lunar New Year federal legal holiday. And last year, when California finally passed legislation making Lunar New Year their state holiday, although it's not legal, meaning it's not a pay day off for the state. There's another motivation beside being an Asian woman who celebrate and value Lunar New Year is that during the pandemic, we saw a significant increase in Asian hate. And many of those we were being shouted at as go back to your country, while we are here. We are legal residents. We are citizens of this country. And for many families, it's multiple generations who live in this country and this state. So for me, by having Lunar New Year being Washington state legal holiday, it's go beyond the recognition of Asian American contribution and culture rooted in this state, but it's also a significant recognition that Asian American are Washingtonian.
是的，在联邦的层级呢，其实也有参议员提出把农历年定为一个法定的联邦假期假日，那么好像也已经通过了。那么所以呢，我们在所谓的法定的假日，就是说会那一天不上班还是能够有薪水可以领的，那这个才是法定的假日。那除了我们在庆祝这个农历年，在最近我们也发现了很严重的亚裔的仇恨情绪，那么很多人都被所谓的美国人当面的让他滚回自己的国家去，那么事实上他们没有意识到，其实我们亚裔已经在美国很多年，甚至很多世代了，我们也是这里的一部分，所以要倡议有这个法定的假期，不但是要庆祝农历年、庆祝春节，并且是要让大家认识到亚裔的人在这个社会所做的贡献，还有要让大家能够承认亚裔也是美国的一部分，亚裔社区是美国这个多元文化社区的一部分，所以我们做这个春节的推动是有多重的意义、多重的目的。请你开开你的话筒。
讲的太好了，就是我刚刚也想问，就是您在多个场合已经讲过，就是设立或者说我们在华盛顿州设立这个农历新年的州立的那个州定的一个假日的话，就是要承认亚裔是华盛顿州的这个所有人群当中的一部分，所以您的初衷之一也是要就是对我们亚裔的一个承认，是吗？
I was going to mention that to recognize the Asian people to be part of Asian Washingtonians is one important thing. So that was one of the reasons why you started to try to establish this legal holiday.
Exactly.
完全没错，正是如此。
然后就是我们知道，加利福尼亚已经将那个农历新年作为一个州定的一个假日，然后现在您提出的就是您提议的这个华盛顿州的这个州定的农历新年日跟加州的稍微有点不同，就是具体的就是在日期上面，就是加州的应该就是农历新年那一天，所谓的正月初一啊，New Year Day，但是就是您提出来的这个华盛顿州的这个农历新年日是在农历新年之前的星期六，那么为什么会有这个日期？
We know that in California, they already have set up a state holiday at the Lunar New Year. And as you trying to do this, the date seems a little different from the California date. And in California, they wanted to be to the first day of the lunar year to be the day of the holiday. And as we understand, you proposed the prior to the Lunar New Year, first day of Lunar New Year. So why did you make this suggestion?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for that question. As I stated, California is not even though they recognize Lunar New Year and they do point at the first day of Lunar New Year, regardless of where it falls in the regular Western calendar, that is the date that whoever the governors of the state, they will make the proclamations as it is the Lunar New Year for this, and celebrate it as a state. However, it's not a legal holiday. And the biggest difference between a recognized holiday, state holiday versus a legal holiday is around the day off that governmental employee may take. And so we can say we really don't care about the day off, but that's not the point. The point of making it a legal holiday is critically important, as you agree with me, is that Asian American are Washingtonian. It's just that the system being defined as a legal holiday, then state employee get to have that day off. When it's moving from day to day, in terms of the system itself, so I'm going to articulate several things. Number one, the system itself, you imagined Department of Licensing. So Department of Licensing would normally open, say, from Monday, maybe through Saturday. Maybe I haven't gone back there enough to know exactly when they open. And if our first day of the new year fall into a Wednesday, for example, they can close it, but it would take a while for the community to know why they close on a Wednesday versus, as you see, some of the legal holiday, according to the Western system, they pick an observed day so that people can either have a 3 days weekend, a Friday, or a Monday. So that first.
对于这个日期呢，其实日期本身对我们来说并不是那么重要，但是分别是在于加州的农历年是他们承认的一个假日，而我争取的呢是在华盛顿州成为一个法定的假日。那么这个法定的跟承认的假日有什么分别呢？就是法定的是政府的雇员是会得到薪水的， 就是如果他那天不上班，他一样是能够拿钱。那么这个日期呢，如果是能够固定下来的话，在整个的政府系统里面就很方便。就像我们在美国、西方很多国家都是如此，不管是圣诞节、感恩节等等的，常常是在固定的某一天，这样可以有一个3天的周末，比方说星期五，然后星期六、星期天，或者是星期一放假，那么我们就可以星期六、星期天、星期一3天连续放假。而且如果是固定在星期一或者是星期五，那比如说我们建议的星期六呢，那这一个日子就会是一个放假，但是能够得到薪资的日期。那么可能是发一些什么证照的一些机构呢，他们确实是星期六上班的，那他们上班的这个日子就可以不上班而能够得到薪资，然后民众也知道他们那一个星期六不上班，而不是像在加州，如果是按照正月初一来算的话呢，有的时候可能星期三，有的时候星期五、星期二，就是很随机的，那民众也不了解为什么，诶，今天这个机关不上班了。那么如果是固定在那一周的某一天的话，这样子对民众来说也比较方便。
The point number 2 is in my original proposed legislation, I put it as the Saturday before the first of the new year. In that way, I could break the fiscal note for legislation into 2 parts. So if passed, then only the state employee who work 24/7, meaning they work on weekend as well. And if they happen to work on the Saturday, then the state would pay extra, or the employee who work on Saturday can take that day off as a state holiday. And then for those who don't, they would need to wait until the next bargaining, the state employee bargaining, to bargain the Friday before that Saturday as their legal holiday off. That way, we break the cost of the legal holiday into 2 chunks. Eventually, everybody who's state employee will get that day off and get paid for it. But right up front, it's not a gigantic fiscal note, which most of the time is how a bill is being killed. People kill a bill by slapping a gigantic fiscal note to it, and the state would need to prioritize to pay for services versus to pay for a holiday. And certainly we can argue, yes, we should pay to recognize this holiday, because the underlying reason for Lunar New Year be a legal holiday is to recognize Asian American as Washingtonian.
好的，下面这一段呢是稍微有一点复杂的，因为是跟这个立法有关系。也就是说在，众议员他提出来这个法案的时候呢，他是希望是正月初一之前的星期六是作为这一个法定的假日。那么为什么呢？因为在州政府的雇员当中，有一些是全年工作的，就是24小时。一天24小时，一个礼拜有7天。那么这些人呢，他们在星期六的时候也是要工作，所以如果星期六是假日的话，他们就可以放假，或者是就是他们也会得到薪资。那么另外还有一部分工作人员是星期六不上班的，那么在第2年呢，他们可以申请就是回溯到他们是星期五补假，有这种补假的观念。那么在个补假的时候呢，他们也会得到薪资，但是呢，这就分成2个部分，不是一开始就全部的人都得到了这个钱。那么在申请一个法案，看他能不能过关，常常这个钱是一个很重要的部分。如果一开始就是要付一大笔钱的话，那么这个法案常常就会被 杀掉，被否决。那么在这个是有点循序渐进的这个方式来提案的话呢，它能够通过的机会就比较多。那么当然了，我们是又要有假日，然后又要能够得到薪资，这个两者都要有才是一个法定假日。为什么这样子呢？是因为我们确实要让大家能够承认亚裔也是华盛顿人的一部分。华盛顿全州的这个人口里面包括了我们亚裔的人口，所以大家要承认我们的存在，承认我们的假日，然后承认我们的假日是法定假日。
嗯。非常感谢戴美玲议员精心的考虑啊。然后我们知道亚洲国家当中，包括中国、越南、韩国，我不知道日本是不是过这个春节啊，然后当然还有台湾，香港等地区都是过农历新年的。那么您有这个提案的时候，有没有向社区就是调查过，有没有 survey，就是知不知道这些社区的民众对您的这个提案，是否支持？然后他们是不是都很高兴有这么一个州立的假日？
Thank you for your very thoughtful thinking in the last part of your talk. And we know that not only Vietnamese people, Chinese people, and Korean, Taiwan, and Hong Kong, they all celebrate Lunar New Year. I wonder if you've surveyed those communities and see if people from those communities all agree with you, all wanted to have this holiday become a legal Washington state holiday.
Yes, thank you for the questions. I have reached out to the Korean community, the Taiwanese community. I think there's a Hong Kong association. Um, I I talked to a few individuals that I have the connection with, but I did not have a chance to really reach out and talk to the community at large. I had the chance to talk to others, leaders in the Chinese associations and communities in the international district, certainly in the Vietnamese community. Everyone are very supportive. However, the one thing I regret is that in my conversation, it seems to be on the concept of making sure that Washington State celebrate Lunar New Year. But I did not dig deeper in terms of the differences between a legal holiday versus a non-legal holiday. I did not have a chance, like I have conversation with you. And so I'm so grateful for Chinese Radio Seattle for this opportunity because moving something this big, sometimes strategy is important and involvement and engagement with communities is extremely important. And that is the one piece I regret that I did not have enough time to really dig deeper and have that conversations with communities. And so wherever that bill is this year, or however we're going to continue moving this work, I hope this is an invitation that if there is communities at large would like to participate with me, be partner with me doing this work. In the interim, I would be so happy and honored to be in your space, answer any of your questions, and bring you into the work so that we can realize Lunar New Year's as our legal state holiday.
我确实曾经对韩国呀、台湾的一些社区，跟他们接触。那么在香港方面呢，接触了一些个人；中国的方面是一些社区的领导人。那么他们基本上都是非常的支持这个想法、这个做法。但是呢，我有一点遗憾的就是当时太匆忙，我只跟他们强调了这个庆祝农历年的这个概念。而没有进一步的去深谈法定假日跟非法定假日的区别，所以我非常的感谢西雅图中文电台给我这个机会在这里详谈这一部分。那么我也希望听到的人如果有兴趣的话呢，能够跟我联络，然后呢，我愿意希望大家能够跟我一起合作，因为这是一个从我开始的时候比较匆忙，在策略上的一个小小的失误，那么以后能够弥补，在这些方面都跟所有的社区都做更清楚的说明。所以，如果您有兴趣加入我们的话，非常欢迎。我们会回答您所有的问题，然后呢，一起共同的努力。
我们很想知道，就是这个您的提案这个立法有没有一个 timeline，就是大约什么时候会投票？然后我们社区如果想要支持的话，应该做些什么？
We would like to know if there is a timeline of this bill. For instance, when is the time that it will be voted on? And if we would like to give you support, how and what can we do?
Yes, thank you. So the bill get out of committee. Right now, it's sit in another committee in the House, which is appropriation committee. This committee is really looking at the cost to the state and whether the bill will be heard, and if it's get out of appropriation, then it could be considered on the House floor. The bill, we would know whether the bill will survive this session or not by the end of Friday. This is when we are waiting to see if the state would consider funding for this proposal. I
When you
am
say the end of Friday is
the
Friday
end of
this
this
week?
Friday. Yes, exactly. So I'm cautiously optimistic. At the same time, like any prime sponsor of a bill, when you first introduce it, it doesn't always go through the first time, and especially for something this big. So I start planning for next year to reintroduce the bill. And as I have asked, if in the interim I could be engaging with the communities, I would love to, because I think this is an opportunity to pull us together, organize us. So if we are not successful this time, we will be more successful next time.
小袁台长，您这个问题问的是非常的及时。现在这个法案呢是进入了一个委员会，那么这个委员会主要的就是在财政方面来考量这个法案是不是可以就是州政府可以有这个能力、有这个财力来通过这个法案。那么其实不是通过，就是说让它变成一个可以让议员来投票的一个法案。那么会不会通过呢？是这个星期五就会知道，所以这个时间是非常的关键。那么一般来说，这个这么大的法案第一次提出，未必都会有机会继续的向前推进，所以 我也是有心理准备，如果今年不通过的话，明年我会再来。那么我希望我们能够有很多社区的力量来支持，我们一起共同的推动这个法案，不管是今年它通过继续的去被投票呢，还是今年通过要明年再继续推动，我们一定要继续的努力，让这个亚裔人群在华盛顿州被看到、被承认。
如果这个法案在委员会这个星期五被通过的话，在那个众议院全体成员投票是在什么时候？
If it does pass this Friday, when will it be voted in the whole House?
That is another hurdle. Legislative process is created to kill bill, not to pass bill. So the next hurdle would be to have it getting out of what we call a rule committee. And then the caucus, which is, I have to say, if you notice, the bill get out of state government committee unanimously, meaning it isn't a Democrat or a Republican. We get 100% Democrat voted for it and 100% Republican who sat on the state government committee voted for it. So I am very happy with that work. Like we really are together recognizing this important work. So I believe that if we can get it out of appropriation, we can get it out of the House. But appropriation is where that dollar side become the biggest hurdle. Because some of our community member testify wanted the holiday, the date of the holiday be on the first day of the new year regardless. That make not only the fiscal note much higher, the implementation of it is going to be difficult. And so from both the funding side and the policy side, it will be difficult. And so I think if anything I learned is that I need to have exactly these conversations time 20, 30, however much I need to do so that our community understand why we have to pick a date. And honestly, the only reason why I pick the Saturday or before the first of the new year is that when I was young, and when there's community organization at all, like at the temple or the local faith, like at the church, the elderly told these leaders that if we do a celebration, celebrate it before the first of the new year, because that is when we invite our ancestor home and get ready to celebrate, not after the first of the new year. So that thought was not something I create. That thought was something I have learned from our elder at some point, and trying to match that with the Western system that does not create for us. And remember, in our country, when we celebrate New Year, it's for some country, it's a month long. So we don't have this problem. This problem is Western problem, and we need to be creative. And also, my goal, again, is to recognize Asian American as Washingtonian. That's the biggest goal for me.
台长，您的问题呢，又进入了另外一个这个观念，就是立法的观念。我们立法呢，不是为了要 听这句话有一点奇怪，不是为了要通过法案，而是为了要阻止法案通过。也就是说，他们有各种不同的方式让你提的法案难以通过。所以即使这个星期五我们通过了这个财务方面的这个委员会的审查，那么我们还会进入另外一个委员会。那么这个委员会呢，如果通过了以后，可能才会进入投票的阶段。那么在这个过程当中呢，我也碰到了一些可以说是反对的力量，就是因为他们希望这个假日的日期呢是在正月初一，而不是在我提出来的正月初一之前的星期六。那么事实上呢，也许是因为前面我没有做那个很详细的在法定跟非法定假日的这个界定上没有做很详细的说明，但是他们不了解的就是在这个法案要通过，一方面是财务的问题，一方面也是这个整个这个法案通过以后，我们要怎么样制定一些政策，这些如果日期不固定的话，都会比较困难。所以如果是能够变成是星期六，会比任何一天容易得多。那么我之所以提出是在正月初一之前的星期六，是因为我从小就有这个印象。我在越南的时候，我们在春节还没有到之前，就已经开始迎接我们的祖先来跟我们一起团聚，跟我们一起庆祝新年。而且在很多地区，这个新年的庆祝，农历年的庆祝是有1个月之久，所以一天并不是那么重要，哪一天并不是那么重要。我们是在西方，在美国的这个制度之下，我们必须要选择一天。那因此呢，我就建议要选择这个星期六，是有很充分的财务方面呢，这个立法方面的理由，所以希望能够得到大家的同意，就是这个日期是正月初一之前的星期六。那么也希望能够通过立法上重重的阻碍，重重的难关。
因为时间的原因啊，我们今天的采访呢，只能暂告一个段落我们希望我们的社区能够支持戴美玲议员，能够就是一起来支持他的这个提案，能够通过这个将农历新年作为华盛顿州的法定假日。来承认亚裔作为所有华盛顿州人的一部分所以我们非常感谢戴美玲议员对我们这个亚裔社区所做的贡献，然后希望大家都能够来支持这个法案。
Due to the time limit, we're not going to talk much more. And Xiaoyuan has concluded what you just said, and he also hope that the whole community can come to support you to push this bill and to make it pass, and so that we can have a legal holiday in the future to celebrate our Lunar New Year.
Yes, thank you very much. And we can I can come on to your radio and talk about any other topics that you think is important to our community. I really hope that that having the positions I'm in is so important, that we build that connection with each other, because I know I cannot be successful without the communities supporting. And I thank you for the opportunities, and I can't wait to be back on the Chinese radio Seattle. And maybe next time we can we have more relaxed in terms of time.
Yeah, perhaps next time we can celebrate the passing of the bill.
Would that be wonderful? Would that be wonderful? Thank you so much. And I'm going to run to my next meeting, and let me know how I could, why not send me something by Saturday, because by Saturday I would know the status of our bill.
Okay.
好，
Yeah. Thank you
非
so
常
much.
非常谢谢小袁台长给我这个机会，我以后呢，随时任何时间你们需要知道任何事情，我可以回答的，我都愿意来跟大家讲，因为这实在是一个非常非常难得的机会。那么作为一个州众议员，我希望能够跟社区有非常好的这个联系，这样子的话呢，我能够得到你们的反馈，我也知道我做的事情是不是你们需要的，所以任何时候我都可以回来。
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Oh well，现在